Seth Grimes, part of the advocacy team at WABA. And this session is Reforming the DMV's Deadliest Road, Indian Head Highway, with Paul Ruffins and Ron Weiss. And I will turn it over to you two now and go off camera. So please take it away.
Hey, hello, my name is Paul Ruffins, and I'm going to share my screen with you. Sorry. Man, sorry, forgive me. Which is, I write a science column called The Science of the City for Streetcar Suburbs News, and I'll post the link later on. But I've been writing about why the pedestrian rate of deaths in Prince George's County is so high. So at first I wrote this piece, and then I started talking about the county's deadliest road, which is Route 210 and Indian Head Highway. And I met a group of community activists, including Ron Weiss, who's here with us today, and Reverend Robert Screen from the Route 210 Highway Safety Committee. And they have been working on this for many years. And I would just like to give you a few preliminary pieces of information, and then invite Ron to introduce himself, and then we'll play Ron's videotape. So can you see the map? Can you?
You're not yet sharing.
I'm not sure. I'm sorry. Is that working?
Okay, you've started screen sharing, and yes, we see a photo of a roadway with a bus in the left lane.
So I'm going to go back. I'm sorry about that. So as I said, I've been writing these two pieces, which you can see here. And then let's talk a little bit about Indian Head Highway. Right? Can you see the map now?
We're not seeing the map yet. You may need to advance your slide.
Okay, how about now?
No, it's still the road with the bus.
Okay, I am very sorry about this. I don't know why.
It's in a different window than the picture of the roadway.
No, I'm in a document. I'm trying to show actually inside of a Word document.
Okay, so you may need to scroll the document to a next page, perhaps.
Okay, how is that? Is that working?
Not yet, unfortunately.
Okay.
It looks like you may have opened up a separate window with the image. I see an X on the upper right corner. I'm just guessing that maybe if you hit that X, it will, yeah, and then try sharing, displaying your map and sharing again.
Thank you. Well, can you see this one?
Looks good. Scroll up a little. That's almost right. No, other direction.
Okay.
And there you go.
Okay, thank you.
So scroll it a little bit more.
Okay, thank you very much.
There you go.
Okay, so Indian Head Highway was built in the run-up to World War II. President Roosevelt, as the war was cranking up in Europe, President Roosevelt wanted to build a highway that goes directly from the military base at Indian Head, which is now was on an Indian Head proving ground where they proved naval cannons, up. That turn is at Fort Washington, which was a very unfortunate fort. The British took it during the War of 1812 and almost burned it down, but it was revitalized right in the run-up to World War II. And the road goes directly to South Capitol Street. So it was meant as a fast military highway from the naval base here all the way up literally almost to the Capitol. It stops at South Capitol Street. At the time, these areas alongside were very rural. And the highway itself passed over many older roads. For example, Livingston Road, which crosses a couple of times. Since World War II, these have become flourishing suburbs. However, and with the populations have doubled, Prince George's County remained one of the most affordable places in the area. So you have along in this part many flourishing like Fort Washington and Accokeek. And part of the issue is that these older roads still pass over and cross Indian Head Highway. I'm going to scroll down, and then you can see that can you see the slide where it dead ends into the military base?
Yes.
Okay, that is the end of it. Okay, like I said, it went from the Capitol straight to the military base. However, now I'm going to go into part of it, what makes it interesting is that part of it looks like a high-speed 6-lane divided rural highway, like I-95 in Southern Virginia. And people treat it like that. It looks like an interstate, and people drive interstate speeds. One of the big problems, though, and if you can see my next slide, is not it passes through these communities and the old roads are still there. But unlike other roads around here, like I-270, which is a high-speed multi-lane highway, or I-95 or 495, excuse me, the Beltway, they all have interchanges. They all have cloverleafs, or sometimes on 66, they don't have cloverleafs, but they have careful entrance ramps. Indian Head Highway has stoplights. So what you see in this picture is all of this traffic, 3 lanes. This is just the northbound lane. And the people are moving at 55, 60 miles an hour into interchanges with stoplights. In this case, we're at the top of a hill. So people can't almost see that light until they come to the top of the hill. And this is at Old Fort Road, one of the 5 or 6 large older roads that still cross Indian Head Highway grade level. If you drive on the Beltway, it crosses many older roads, but it uses underpasses. There are no stoplights on the Beltway, whereas Indian Highway has about 5 or 6 or 7 major streets that cross it with stoplights. If I go to my next slide, and this is for people who are about to understand, this is a ghost bike monument to this gentleman, Caleb, who was killed here in 2022. And then I'm going to go and show you the intersection. The next picture is the intersection where he was killed, right? Which looks like this, okay? This is Fort Washington Drive, a major street to that community. You see the 6 lanes of 210. And this is a great example because cars have to make turns across this. Nowhere on 270 or 95 or any other highway where people are going 65, 75, sometimes 75 miles an hour, would you have cars crossing to go into a community. I also want to point out that if you look on the right hand of the side, whether you see the bicycle, very close to there is a senior citizens community. On the left-hand side of the street is a shopping mall. And down Fort Washington Road, I'm told there's a Safeway. Please also note, there are no sidewalks. So anyone walking along here would have to walk almost literally. There's no bike lane, there's no sidewalk. So anyone walking along here would have to literally walk on the road. Or in my case, when I wanted to take this photograph, I was afraid to get you a straight on picture because it's just, as you see, there's kind of a hill, and I was afraid of falling into the street. But the senior citizens, some of whom are handicapped and can't drive, have to negotiate a wide 6-lane highway at speeds with stoplights to get to the shopping mall. Those are some of the structural problems that make this such a dangerous road. Now I will stop sharing and turn this over to Ron, who will introduce himself, and then we'll go to the video.
Hi, I'm Ron Weiss. I'm a member of the Maryland 210 Traffic Safety Committee that was founded and continues to be facilitated by Reverend Dr. Robert Screen. We started working on 210 traffic safety in October 2018, and we've met monthly since then, every month since then. We meet with police and representatives from the Maryland State Highway Administration and with community members who are interested in improving 210 traffic safety and saving lives on 210. It's 210s are what we call our main street because it divides communities from that are on either side of it. There, as Paul mentioned, communities have grown up since the highway was built, and we're quite suburban now, when it used to be rural. You know, countrywide, last year, about 43,000 people died on U.S. roads, and last year, 544 people died on Maryland roads, and of those 544 fatalities in Maryland, 126 were pedestrians. You know, they weren't protected by metal, they weren't protected by seat belts or airbags, but the drivers in the cars that crashed into them were protected. I can't separate out who what happened to the drivers, but I know 126 pedestrians died last year. In Prince George's County, we had 104 fatalities last year, and 34 of those were pedestrians. That's 33% of our Prince George's County traffic fatalities were pedestrians. It's dangerous to be a pedestrian in Prince George's County. So we've been working for all those years, meeting every month, trying to save lives on 210. We've had mixed success in the 16 years since 2007. Nearly 90 people have died on 210. That's why it has been called in the media the highway of death. Unfortunately, that's an unfortunate term, but that's earned that reputation. We're trying to change that reputation by saving lives and making it the highway of life.
I would like to make a statistical comment.
Yeah.
We don't know how many roads there are, how many miles of roads there are in Prince George's County, but according to the Maryland Department of Transportation, there are about 2,000 miles of county maintained roads. There's also some federal roads, like and of course municipal roads. But if we just take the 2,000 miles of county roads, Indian Head Highway is 23. The part in Prince George's County, some of it is in Carroll County, but let's just assume that there's less than 20 miles of it altogether. That means that Indian Head Highway is 1/1000th of the county roads in Prince George's County. But as Ron mentioned, if there were about 104 pedestrian, 33 pedestrian deaths, 5 of them were on Indian Head Highway. So a road that is 1/1000th of the county's roads produced 15% of the pedestrian deaths and 10% of all fatalities, period. It gives you an idea of how vastly disproportionate, 1,000% of the roadway producing 10 to 15% of the fatalities.
Yeah, I just might add that the length of Indian Head Highway in Prince George's County is 14 miles. There's 13 miles south of the Beltway to the Charles County line, and about a mile north of the Beltway to the DC line. We've worked. I guess the bottom line is we've worked hard with State Highway to get them to improve it. They've changed one of those intersections Paul mentioned into an interchange. It cost millions of dollars and took like 10 years to do. There was a plan that's like 20 years old to change all, well, at least 5 more of those intersections to interchanges, but it took 20 years to get the first one built, and I probably won't see the next one built. But in any case, it takes a long time to change the highway, but it also takes a long time to change people's behavior. It took us about 20 years to get half the people in the United States to wear seatbelts from when they first started doing that. It took about 20 years from the Surgeon General labeling smoking as a carcinogen to get half the people to stop smoking. So it changes hard and takes a long time and takes a lot of people working to make it happen. And so we're experiencing that ourselves and trying to change behavior of the drivers on 210. Our cars are getting safer. They're building more and more safety features in our cars. The State Highway is doing whatever they can, short of more intersections, to improve that 210 safety by making the lights more visible, making the striping more visible, making the lanes seem to be narrower, so that people try to slow down because they think the road's narrower than it is. They're doing whatever they can to help us get the message that we need to slow down on it. We now have 3 traffic cameras on 210. They've measured speed going up to 168 miles an hour, if you can imagine, on a 55-mile-an-hour road.
Ron, let's roll a tape, and then we
okay.
can.
So what we're going to this tape or this video that Paul's going to show you is a kind of a history of our efforts, because it's got such a bad reputation, and we've tried to get attention to the problem. It's been in the media quite often, and these are clips from the media coverage of 210. So we can, I don't know if we can show that on the screen, or we have to have everybody click on the link.
Let's see what happens. That works. Bob, I'm on the line now. I'm giving a presentation. I'll talk to you.
Ron, I have put a link for the video. This is Seth in the chat. And should people go ahead and watch it by clicking on that link? It is 24 minutes, 53 seconds long. So you want them to watch the full thing for nearly 25 minutes. That's correct?
Yes.
All right. So if anyone is not able to use the link that's in the chat, please send a chat message to the panelists, including myself. Otherwise, we will see you back here in 25 minutes.
If we share our screen and roll the video, will it show up on there? Maybe should we try that?
You can certainly try to do that.
Okay, let me see what happens. Their screen. Sure.
Go ahead
I don't know
and,
if you see that?
yes, is there audio on it?
Yeah,
Yes.
yes.
Okay, we are not getting the audio through Zoom. So rather than try to resolve this on the fly, it might be best for people to go out and use,
Right.
Allie, you know, a way to work this. It might be best for people to use the link that's in the chat.
That definitely could be an option here. I am hearing audio. Let's see, maybe that's just on my end. All right. Well, if the plan here, let's see, I'm glad to try and share from my screen. If that doesn't work, then we can certainly ask everybody to watch on their own. So let's see if I can share here for you.
Allie, Garrett says in the chat to be sure to hit optimize for video checkbox if sharing a video.
Wonderful. There we go. I see it. Okay. All right. Let's see. Hopefully got it here. I'm going to go to full screen. Let me know how it's sounding.
I am not hearing any audio.
It's coming.
New tonight, another push
No,
to
it's
make
good.
you safer on a notoriously dangerous stretch
I think
of
we're good.
roadway. Route 210, or Indian Head Highway in Prince George's County, is a long, flat straightaway. And as News 4's Jackie Benson reports, now drivers often reach high and deadly speeds.
AAA says this is arguably one of the worst stretches of road in the entire D.C. area.
Approximately 7 hours, they were able to stop 49 vehicles. This is during the daylight hours. Of those 49 vehicles, one vehicle was doing 100 miles an hour. The average speed, Doctor, as you mentioned, was 78.
Acting Prince George's County Police District 7 Commander Jim Coletti describes just one day of enhanced enforcement on just 10 miles of Route 210 Indian Head Highway. That stretch of road has claimed 6 lives this year. That is despite county police writing more than 3,300 traffic citations, most of them for speeding.
We've got Mothers Against Drunk Driving for intoxicated driving. We've got Noah's Law that's been passed. We got nothing for speeding.
Residents of Fort Washington and surrounding communities gathered to advocate for safety improvements on the road, which has been the scene of 47 fatal crashes since 2007, according to the Maryland Highway Safety Office. Reverend Tierney Screen has been called upon more than once to comfort the families of victims.
It is not an easy thing to deal with. It's the devastation, the sense of loss, and then the suddenness of it is unbearable to the families.
Now, this is a state highway, but thanks to a nearly decade-old memorandum of agreement with Maryland State Police, they don't patrol here. Organizers want that to change. In Prince George's County, Jackie Benson, News 4.
Well, whether it's the road itself or the drivers on it, everyone agrees something needs to change to make Route 210 in Prince George's County safer and more efficient. Today, county leaders sent a letter to the state asking for prioritized funding for construction. The highway is one of the deadliest and most congested throughout our region. Among the road's latest victims, 3 young children killed in December. Now, county officials are vowing to finally make that road safer.
Whether the state funds it or not, that we have to work with our colleagues in the General Assembly to make sure that we can move forward.
With today's letter, Indian Head Highway has now been bumped to the top of the county's transportation construction list for the very first time. But this is not the end. There are at least 7 intersections that need to be repaired, and to do that, the county is looking at an additional 30 years or more of construction. And that could cost as much as $500 million. New at 11 tonight, some major changes are coming to what's been called one of the most deadly roads in the entire country.
Yeah, we're talking about Route 210, also known as Indian Head Highway in Prince George's County. News 4's Jackie Benson joins us with the major update from Fort Washington.
It took a change to Maryland law, but 3 additional speed cameras are about to be added to this dangerous road in June. The proceeds go not to the county or the state, but to the Criminal Injury Compensation Fund. What's happening on Route 210 in Prince George's County will be remembered as the time a small, diverse group of residents came together to change a dangerous road some believed unchangeable, to try to solve a problem some believed unsolvable.
We stayed focused on the problem, and we stayed united together to solve the problem.
They showed up for meetings held in the evening after work, when most people would rather be home relaxing. They held police and elected officials and county and state traffic planners accountable. Yasmin Duncan lost her 24-year-old daughter, Samira Jenkins, in March of last year. She was killed crossing Route 210 to catch a bus on her way to a job interview.
I am humbled. I am thankful. My personal journey is to do whatever I can so that no other family ever experiences what myself and so many other families have gone through.
And after the additional speed cameras, there are still more changes to come. Rumble strips, improved lighting at intersections, and changes to make traffic signals more visible. In Fort Washington, Jackie Benson, News 4.
Welcome back. One of the most dangerous highways in our region is getting a huge safety upgrade. We've reported on the deadly crashes on Indian Head Highway. 66 people have died in the last 11 years. But as Georges County Bureau Chief Tracy Wilkins shows us, new speed cameras along a more than 10-mile stretch from Accokeek to the Beltway could help save lives.
Reverend Dr. Robert Screen helps people through their hardest times along Route 210.
I've run into accidents when I'm pulling out my vest and going as a clergy member to an accident scene.
When he's not working on the highway, he's at the hospital hoping to comfort the injured and those who have lost loved ones to this road.
This is the most dangerous area for traffic fatalities in the state of Maryland.
He's lived here more than 40 years and remembers each fatal crash along 210 with photographic detail, like the crash at this very spot in 2008.
There were 8 people that were killed in one particular accident.
It was due to drag racing and the beginning of a nasty trend.
Well, since that time, we've had 2 additional accidents that have occurred not 50 yards from this spot, right in the intersection here at Pine Drive.
Then there were the 3 children who were killed on New Year's Eve of last year, just a few miles north of here.
All of them are bad, but when you have children who haven't even got a start in life, to lose them and all in one incident, that was terrible. That was really something that took the wind out of all of us.
For 14 years, Screen has worked with neighbors to make this road safer. And this Saturday, that change is coming with 3 roving speed cameras that will operate 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They'll move from location to location along 210. They're the first of their kind made possible through state legislation.
It's been a long trek. It's been many people have been lost along the way, but we're doing the best that we can to try to change some behavior.
The roving cameras are expected to be in place by this Saturday and then up and running shortly after that. In Accokeek, I'm Tracy Wilkins, News 4.
The News 4 I-team has been looking into the wrecks on Indian Head Highway. They discovered that nearly all drunken drivers who caused crashes on the roadway over the past 3 years avoided jail sentences. To see Scott McFarland's report, open our NBC Washington app and search Indian Head Highway.
Concerned citizens and several families who lost loved ones in crashes along a notorious stretch of road in Maryland came together to dedicate new speed cameras in their honor. A total of 3 roving speed cameras will be installed in coming weeks along Maryland Route 210, commonly known as Indian Head Highway. Crashes along that road have taken the lives of 60 people since 2007, and it's the scene of at least 1 traffic accident a day. Fox 5's Anjali Hemphill has more.
These white doves released into the air served as a tribute and reminder of the dozens of lives lost along one of the most dangerous roadways in the D.C. area.
The accident happened in 2005. I've not recovered. Javon's life was taken away at the age of 21. And I can say he's the greatest athlete I've ever coached.
66 people have died in crashes on Maryland Route 210 Indian Head Highway since 2007, including 5-year-old twins and their 13-month-old brother who did not survive a violent rear-end collision on December 30th, caused by a suspected drunk driver. But as of June 1st, a new law, HB 187, will allow roving speed cameras along this busy road in an effort to save lives.
But when you drive past a speed camera and you slow down just to speed up once you get out of range, that means you haven't really changed the way you feel about safety. We want you to change the way you feel about driving safety.
The issue of speed cameras was not a popular idea. To this day is still not. But I don't say that this is the answer or the final answer to the end of a destruction on the highway of death, as many of you may know that 210 is known for, but it is a beginning.
Meanwhile, police enforcement has also been stepped up, resulting in more than 9,000 citations handed out over the last 2 years. A step in the right direction for those hoping for drastic change.
I live within 5 miles of this road, and I think of Javon every time I travel on it. So I seek to avoid it. And now that I know that we have legislation in place and speed cameras, maybe it's time to take back part of my community.
These roving speed cameras will go in along a 13-mile stretch from the Beltway to Charles County. One went in last year. 2 more are being installed this month.
It's known as one of the most dangerous local roads. Indian Head Highway has been the scene of some serious crashes, and officials tell us that's in large part due to speed. While the number of speeders has dropped, the speeding itself can be excessive. One person was even clocked doing 149 miles an hour this year. News 4's Darcy Spencer looks at what's being done to get people to slow down.
Indian Head Highway, it's infamous for high speeds and traffic fatalities. 3 children died in a multi-vehicle crash on the highway in Oxon Hill. That was in December of 2018.
Especially like drag racing, I've heard. I live right off the highway, so I hear it at night.
Safety advocates say things are getting better because of these speed cameras. But there are more super speeders who don't seem to care about the cameras or the fine.
On an average month, we're getting somewhere between 40 and 50 and above people that go over 100 miles per hour.
Robert Screen is with the 210 Traffic Safety Committee. The committee found the highest speed captured on a traffic camera on Indian Head Highway this year is 149 miles per hour. That's compared to 161 last year.
Problem with those high speeds, if they hit anyone or someone hits them, it's going to be instant fatality.
So if you get a ticket from one of these speed cameras, you get hit with a $40 fine. That's whether you're going 70 miles an hour or 170 miles an hour. And some safety advocates say that has got to change. Those advocates say the fine should depend on how fast you're going and be more in line with citations you'd get if you were pulled over by police. So super speeders might get a super fine.
Somebody going 25 miles per hour over the speed limit or any other kind of egregious speed, they need to be able to feel the bite from that fine.
Drivers we spoke to say the threat of a bigger fine would be the ticket to getting drivers to slow down.
Maybe if people had to pay more, they would pay attention. You know, the best way to get to someone is their pockets.
The Safety Committee is working with community groups and lawmakers to come up with legislation to give super speeders a choice. Either slow down or pay hundreds of dollars in fines. Darcy Spencer, News 4.
We have some alarming new numbers just into CNN.
U.S. traffic deaths surging amid an increase in reckless driving during the pandemic, setting the fastest pace from January to September ever recorded. CNN's Pete Montine is live for us in Fort Washington, Maryland, with more. What is the trend that we're seeing here, Pete?
Well, Brianna, locals call this the highway of death. 2 fatal crashes here in as many weeks. And the sad truth is you probably know a spot like this where you live, and now the federal government has a new plan to combat this nationwide problem. Safety advocates call it an epidemic on our roads. This past Saturday alone, this head-on crash near Fresno killed 5. 4 more died in this fiery wreck on I-75 near Atlanta. And last month in Las Vegas, 9 people were killed when police say a driver apparently ran a red light.
This is an unfathomable tragedy that has forever altered the lives of so many people.
New numbers from the National Highway Traffic and Safety Administration show in the first 9 months of 2021, fatal crashes jumped by 12%, the biggest increase in the agency's history. More than 31,000 people were killed in car crashes. The numbers show that speeding and driving without a seatbelt has gone up during the pandemic.
This is a national crisis.
Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg just unveiled the Biden administration's plan to make driving safer. Billions from the bipartisan infrastructure law to help counteract for human error behind the wheel.
People make mistakes, but human mistakes don't always have to be lethal.
It's very tough.
It was March 17, 2000, when Cynthia Jones's sister Karen pulled over to fix her gas cap when she was hit by a drunk driver. Cynthia identified her sister's body.
She would want me out here to make a difference in saving more lives because she didn't have to go that way.
The crash happened here on Indian Head Highway in Maryland. Last year, the highest recorded speed here was 149 miles per hour. Safety advocates call it the highway of death.
It's straight shot and a few traffic lights, and people use it as a raceway. If you want to speed, this is the place to do it.
Some of the money from the DOT's new National Roadway Safety Strategy will go to redesigning dangerous roads in hopes of suppressing crash numbers that were going down until now.
People should be outraged.
National Transportation Safety Board Chair Jennifer Homendy was herself rear-ended at a Virginia intersection last year. Her agency has recommended that automakers install automatic braking and collision warnings in all cars, but regulators have not yet acted.
So we have to change. We need all stakeholders to come to the table, and we need to build in redundancy so that people survive crashes.
Both vehicles went up in flames.
Reverend Dr. James Screen says 80 people have been killed on this stretch of Indian Head Highway in the last 15 years. He says directing more federal funding to combat dangerous driving is only the start of a road to lasting change. It's got to be hard to see. I mean, you're doing this interview and people are whizzing by you.
Yes, that's a part of the indifference that people have about driving. As I say, this contentious type of entitlement mindset. You know, I do as I please, whatever I can get away with. And so we have to hit that head on in some type of way where it won't be all people, but at least most people, where we can manage it in a better way than what we're doing now.
If you think this problem is going away, think again. The NTSB points out that driving miles on average are going up as more people are going back to commuting. Here in the state of Maryland, they're averaging 1 fatal accident statewide for every day of 2022. Brianna.
Yeah, too many. Pete Montine, thank you.
Now from the rails to the roads, a dangerous situation where it's a highway that many of you have driven. Tonight, the News 4i team is digging into the effectiveness of the Maryland Route 210 speed camera enforcement program in Prince George's County.
It's supposed to mail citations to speeders, but the I-team found some of the roadway's fastest drivers are breaking the law with no consequences, raising questions from the community and from police about why the cameras aren't catching the culprits. Investigative reporter Tracy Wilkins has our story.
They call Route 210 the highway of death. And deadly scenes like this are why. Police say speeds exceeding 160 miles per hour happen on this 55-mile-per-hour road.
We don't want anybody to die on this road.
It's why Ron Weiss and others who live here fought years for automated speed cameras on Route 210. In 2019, state lawmakers approved 3 mobile cameras, among the first in Maryland, to be on a state highway in a non-construction zone.
It's working.
But Ron says there's a problem.
It's just not working on the really bad drivers.
The News 4 I-Team obtained reports prepared late last year by the Prince George's County Police Department's Automated Enforcement Division. It expressed concerns, including why the vendor was at one point, quote, struggling to provide data every month. The report went on to say the vendor, New Jersey-based Conduit, has not fully addressed what appears to be a consistency problem in the data and produced 0 citations for speeds greater than 89 miles per hour. The bottom line is data suggests the faster you go, the less likely you are to get a ticket on 210. The I-Team analyzed data between April and October of 2022 and found that only 41% of photographed speeders were issued actual citations.
It's still bad, and we still don't know what the problem is with the cameras.
Former AAA spokesman John Townsend said, while studies show the mere presence of cameras has proven to reduce overall speeding, he was surprised so many potential citations are being tossed.
What's more important? Is it getting the actual citation, or is it just having the cameras here to deter behavior?
So the most important thing is to have the camera. But when you have anomalies in the system where drivers are going 140 miles per hour and they're not ticketed, that shows a lack of confidence in the data.
We took these concerns about the cameras to the vendor who operates them, but the vendor declined to comment and referred us to the county. The Prince George's County Police Department declined to go on camera, but in a statement said the ultimate goal of the program is to reduce speed on Route 210 and that it's meeting that goal because the data has shown a reduction in speed where the cameras have been deployed. The I-Team wanted to know how other speed enforcement programs in our region are catching the worst offenders.
Our highest clock speed was 173 miles per hour.
And there was more where that came from on I-83 in Baltimore, where the city unveiled a speed camera program last year. But instead of mobile cameras along the road, they have 2 fixed cameras mounted high above traffic, something Baltimore DOT Interim Director Corin Johnson says was necessary for I-83's design.
It's most definitely having the impact that we hoped. We are seeing people slowing down.
And speeders are getting caught. Johnson told the I-Team the program has a citation issuance rate of 97%.
We're constantly monitoring both the speed sentries, the cameras, immediately addressing any type of issues that might occur to ensure that we're getting that consistent rate accomplished.
Baltimore's cameras are operated by a different vendor than Route 210. That vendor verified the 97% number to the I-Team. Johnson said while the cameras themselves are a deterrent, so is following through with citations.
People know they can drive through there and get citations, but they're thrown out. Then you're not really concerned about it hitting your pocket and making it personal.
For Ron, the success of the speed camera program on 210 feels personal too.
If we don't fix this problem, more people are going to die.
Prince George's County Police did not respond to our questions about why only 40% of those speeding events have resulted in citations, or if they've addressed why no speeders going above 89 miles per hour were cited. They did, however, refer us to the Prince George's County Revenue Authority that oversees the program. The authority has not yet provided the information we requested. Tracy Wilkins, News 4 I-Team.
Now, in a statement, Prince George's County Police told News 4 the speed camera program could have a bigger impact if they were allowed to use more cameras. That could happen as the General Assembly is now considering 2 pieces of legislation involving Route 210. One piece would increase the number of cameras and the other would escalate fines, which are now just $40 for recidivist speeders.
Indian Head Highway may soon lose the speed cameras that some credit with making it at least a little bit safer. As Maryland Bureau Chief Brad Bell explains, one of those cameras clocked a driver going 168 in a 55 zone.
Indian Head Highway has a well-earned and very bad reputation.
You go down the Indian Head Highway, take your life in your hands. People don't believe in speed limits or stop signs.
The speeding is just unbelievable.
Just last year, 10 people died in crashes here.
It's the deadliest highway in the area. You know, we need to do something to slow people down and to get these reckless speeders to change their behavior or get them off the road.
Activist Ron Weiss is among those who convinced state lawmakers 3 years ago to allow police to set up 3 speed cameras here along the highway, even though they aren't in school or construction zones as Maryland law generally requires. But it was only for a 3-year trial period. That ends this September. Now, Weiss wants the cameras to remain.
This is our main street, and we don't want to die going shopping.
So today, Weiss testified before a House of Delegates committee in support of 2 bills that would allow a total of 10 speed cameras along the 14 miles of Indian Head Highway and create a schedule of fines starting at $40, increasing to $530 for those caught going 52 over the limit and up to $350 for repeat offenders. Some in Charles County have complained it amounts to a toll on the busy commuter route. Weiss rejects that argument.
It only hurts people who speed.
Delegate Chris Valderrama, who is sponsoring this legislation, tells me she expects opposition both to the number of proposed cameras and those escalating fines, but she is hopeful that something will pass and the cameras will stay. In Fort Washington, Brad Bell, 7 News.
I hope everybody lasted through that video. And as we mentioned earlier, there's another link there that video clips of legislators who are pushing back against, or who pushed back against the legislation and the General Assembly. And we're trying to strategize on how to deal with that when we reintroduce a bill that would raise fines for super speeders and repeat offenders in the General Assembly next year. It's very enlightening, I think, to understand the opposition and to listen to their arguments and their supposed logic in pushing back against it. So I'm done here. If anybody has any questions, I'm welcome to field them.
Ron, this is Seth. Let's start with a question from Keith Hardy, which is, could you please recap what the bill proposes?
Okay, well, yeah, we had 2 bills in this General Assembly. The one that passed is the one that extended the life of the extended the sunset. As was mentioned in the video, there was a 3-year sunset. Now we've extended it so that the bill that authorizes the speed cameras won't expire at the end of September 30th of this year. It also allowed us to go up to 6 speed cameras on 210. We still only have 3. The bill was effective 1st of June, but those speed cameras come out of the about 70 speed cameras that the Prince George's has for in their inventory, and so they'll have to shuffle them around if they're going to add more speed cameras on 210. I hope they do. But as mentioned, the speed cameras that we have problems, and we're hoping to get that issue resolved as well. So that may postpone getting more speed cameras on 210. The other bill, and the one that we're going to try and reintroduce next year, is the one that increases fines on an escalating scale as speeds go up, as was also mentioned by Brad Bell. And also has additional fines for repeat violators. And again, that we're working with the Prince George's County Police and the Revenue Authority to make sure that they can deal with it if that bill is enacted, that they can in fact detect those violators and issue them fines. We're already having problems just with speeding, and if we ask them to escalate fines for escalating speeding and give additional fines for repeater speeders, they have to be able to identify those individuals. And I need that assurance. We need that assurance before we even put the bill in the hopper in January. So the future is uncertain, but we're meeting with our communities to push for this, to pressure, and we're pressuring our county executive and police and revenue authorities to do their part to help us enforce speed laws on 210 so we can save lives, so we don't have another repeat of last year when we lost 10 people.
I would like to talk about two of the questions in the chat, and I'll address the second one first, which says, do violations from the speed cameras count as points against a driver's license? And the second one is, what is the threshold at which excessive speeding becomes criminal? No, in this state, in Maryland, and in most states, automated tickets do not count against your driver's license. If you were pulled over by a police officer, they would count against your driver's license. California, and to my knowledge, Arizona, do have a thing where they will count against your driver's license. And that's one of the interesting things is there is an interstate pact about driving. So if you're in Maryland, if you have a Virginia car in Maryland and a Maryland police officer gives you a speeding ticket in Maryland, they will share that with Virginia and they will count against your Virginia license. However, automated cameras have, there's a lot of political opposition. Some people think it's Big Brother. Some people think it is just a revenue trap. So in Maryland, no one enforces out of state automated tickets in this area. Like I said, there are about 5 states that do that. One of the things that WABA members could do to really help is to lobby other states to do reciprocity. You may have heard that the district has thousands has a lot of Maryland, Virginia drivers, has thousands of unpaid camera tickets because they cannot enforce them. If you've got a Virginia car and a DC speeding or red light camera, that's unenforceable by the district unless they pull your car, which they used to do and may go back to. So that is a lobbying effort that WABA could participate in. The second question is, when does excess speeding become criminal? To my knowledge, one of the things about Maryland is there is no excess speed that will become criminal. If you get caught going 160 miles an hour, and again, I'm not a lawyer, but I have recently researched this, it is not criminal if you don't hit somebody. It is just a speeding ticket. That, to my knowledge, is not true in Virginia. Virginia's laws are kind of stricter. My understanding is in Virginia, if you are going over 80 miles an hour, it stops from being a traffic ticket to a criminal matter. It may not be a felony, but at least it will be a misdemeanor, which is reported to in different ways than just speeding tickets are. Now, Ron, I don't know if you saw the other question in the chat. It says, to what extent does reducing driving by providing other alternatives for getting around, like transit or removing lanes, a road diet fit into your vision for a safer Maryland 210? I'll say one thing and then I'll let Ron handle the rest. Because 210 is a state road, most people don't understand there are in Maryland and most places there are federal roads like I-95, and I believe there are state roads like 210. Anything with a number is a state road. So Prince George's County doesn't have the authority to narrow or put rumble strips on 210. People watching the video may not understand that Ron and other people had to go to the Maryland legislature. It was the Maryland legislature, when they first authorized speed cameras, basically said you cannot have a speed camera on a state road unless it's in a school zone or a temporary construction zone. They had, every time they want to put a camera in, they had to get that approved by a vote of the entire state legislature, and they got a lot of pushback. That's the other video in the chat, that other Maryland legislatures from, say, Carroll County and other jurisdictions said no. We don't want to allow you to have speed cameras on 210 because our constituents drive on it every day, and we don't want them to slow. We don't want them to be slowed. They don't want them to be slowed down. Or perhaps you may ask a question of what would alternative transit or road diet?
Okay, well, yeah, well, we are working with State Highway. As a matter of fact, we have coming up a pilot project with State Highway and the University of Maryland, who's measuring before and after effects of virtual road narrowing, where they put these stripes on the curbs that go horizontal and make it appear that to the driver that the road is narrower than it is. And so they want to see if that has any effect on it, because they're doing making road diets on the cheap, because it's very expensive to change the basic infrastructure of the highway. So they're doing what they can and experimenting with that, but it does require a lot of extensive coordination with State Highway to do that. The situation we're in is because of a memorandum of understanding that was signed between the Maryland State Police and the Prince George's County Police back in the year of 2000 that assigned traffic enforcement to the county police, because the state police had a severe budget cut and lost a lot of positions and were basically couldn't do the job. And so Prince George's County apparently had enough sworn officers to do traffic enforcement to take over the job. That's no longer true. Our police department is severely understaffed. Traffic enforcement is a very low priority, after violent crime and property crime, and in between time they do traffic enforcement. So the basic problem is getting people to obey the law. We're a country that prides itself on the rule of law. And for our democracy to work, we have to follow the rules. And people are not. And those people who are not following the rules on 210 are endangering everybody's life, including their own. And we've seen the results of that. How do we change driver behavior? Well, excessive fine or increasing fines is one way to do it. Points is another way. Going to back to driver school, or doing community work, doing something to make them feel the impact of what they've done. It's like, how do you get a child to not do something that child shouldn't do? It's kind of like that. These drivers are like in my view, like children. And you're trying to get them to understand that they're doing a wrong thing and trying to change their behavior so they grow up and be responsible adults. It baffles me that the mindset of people who feel they can do whatever they want on the roads. As Reverend Screen gives the example of he's a private pilot. He flies planes that do like 120 miles an hour. And those, when he's up in the air, he has like a mile of free space on all sides of him. When we're on 210, we have like 18 inches of space between us. And people are going faster than he was going in his plane. And it's just incredibly risky out there.
All right, this is Seth again. We're at 3:50, which is the stop time for this panel. I didn't want to cut you off, Ron, but I will wrap us up now. And thank you both, Ron Weiss and Paul Ruffins, for appearing in this panel. Indian Highway is a big concern, and WABA will intensify our efforts to work with you on this. And thanks to everyone for attending.
Thank you for the ability to give our case. Thank you very much.
Right.